This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning, everyone. Today's November 12th. Hope you all are having a lovely start to your morning. I know it's early depending on where you are. Before we begin, we must provide a disclaimer that the following information provided is not investment advice. Our methods, teachings, and content are for educational purposes only. All materials and lessons are protected assets of Market Making Strategies, LLC. Any plagiarism or sharing of our content is strictly prohibited, and any violators are subject to applicable laws. With that being said, I don't want to waste time because we do have some effective stuff here. So our first stock of the day, no surprise, is BTCT. Now, what do we need to know? The first thing we can identify is the strategy is exceptional build. They want as many shares as they can, and typically in exceptional build, it's also because the valuation of the stock or the price of the stock is seen as being higher. So they're also moving it into a different price range. The price range that's more of the relative value of the company for what they see now. But in regards to the trading, the big level that I told you all earlier was 460. They were building at 460 and below 460. They chose that level particularly. Now, before we got 5, the increments were 20 cents, and they were using 420, 440, 460, but they were not using 50. Now, we have seen 5 is got prints, but the prints were in line with exceptional build. They were not trying to cap or take control, but it did because it's building under 5. So we can see now that with 5, the concern would be, do we now introduce whole levels? We do not yet. And why don't we? 5 is a psychological number. It's always going to be of use, but it's also part of the 20-cent increment, 60, 85. So for now, I would pay particular attention to the 20-cent increments. Also remember how big 460 was. Why is that important? They did not do all this exceptional building just to go and sit at 5. They could easily exceptionally build all the way to 550, 560. If it goes to 560, do not be surprised. That's the calculated move for 460. Obviously, we can see 25 million shares. It has great volume. It has nothing else. The key to this is to make sure the strategy remains the same. You want to make sure that they're continually doing nothing but exceptional buy. What does that mean? That means that basically everything should look like this, all green, with little pockets of red that are just used for selling. Somebody who just wants to get out a few shares, but we can see the work here is all buying. This is called exceptional buying or exceptional build, meaning they are taking all the shares they can get in the same direction as buying would take you, which is long. So BTCT, remember 460, you can see 420 was a great level that it pulled back to. We noticed buying at 5, but it's still part of the same print personality of exceptional buy. So don't expect it to really get in the way when it's ready to move past 5. And with 460 being such a major level, I would expect 560 if it exceptionally buys and continues going towards that level. If not, and the volume drops off, you can see them exceptionally buy going down in the open. So make sure that what you see in this strategy is what you see in the open. If you start seeing a lot of sell, be mindful. That's a change of strategy. That would be selling so they can start the down pressure and the building would occur going down. So BTCT, keep that in mind. 460 is a major level. Calculated move would be 560. And you want to see the phase and the strategy continue on. Number 2. I was watching GovX, and more particularly because I know David was talking about some prints yesterday, and they really didn't go into fruition. But we are seeing, I've been watching this lightly, not with much intent, but lightly. And I have seen in GovX, they had some beautiful build prints at 60, 62, 72. I wasn't aware what happened at 4, just didn't get a chance to see. But I can tell you that in this range here, there is absolutely a lot of building. Now, what would we need to see for that? Well, again, this is using 20 cents. It is absolutely ugly. There is nothing to go off here. Are they trading? Are they doing? No, we know that when you're building And if you're not doing it exceptionally, it can look nothing. It can just look like a chart of mess. So we want to see a lot of volume in open. The print personality right now I'm seeing is 3 to 4. The build prints were all 6 to 8 prints. So for this to release, and we can see it has 8.4 million shares, you can see that the average is around 60 to 80,000. When it opens, you want to see a small print personality, 3 to 4 prints within high volume. That would mean that they are done with the building phase. If you are seeing huge prints of building, be mindful, it has not shown any form of exceptional build. So you'd have to make sure of what you see. How are the prints playing within the volume? What is the money flow? Either way, I would always say to you, if it moves towards 4, remember that's a whole number. Always something that you got to pay particular attention to and be defensive, but let the information leak out first, meaning in the prints closer to 4, to give you an understanding of the direction. So government X will be 2. Number 3. Now, I was somewhat reluctant to put this on here because the only place it's printed from what I have seen is at levels 100, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 7, 8, you name it, 10, it's printed at levels. But it takes one execution for it to go up $2 or $1. The risk to reward is extremely high because it can literally in one shot, you could be down a couple of dollars. In my opinion, absolutely not worth the bother. But if the volume comes in and it comes in extremely high and it starts trading clean, trading between lower increments, maybe 50 cents, then you just got to understand and calculate your risk to reward. And our ratios are 25% of the trade is what you're allowed to risk. So if you're looking to make $1, it's 25 cents. On a personal note, I personally do not like to lose up to 25, 30 cents in a trade. I think that's too big of a loss, especially when you consider that most of the wins these days are 60, 70 cents. If you start accepting larger losses, it's going to be hard for you to stay in the green on days and weeks. So I would be mindful, make sure you're a high level trader. When we say high level trader, there's 1 to 5, 1 being the lowest, level 5 being the highest. This is absolutely a level 5 trade. Just because you can read prints and you understand volume, are you able to manage a trade that can move $1, $2, or $5 within one bar? That's always the key. So when we look at higher level stocks or higher level traders, it's their ability to manage more risk, their ability to trade within a stock with more risk. Because if you are not right on your execution and you are not right on the read that you have, this will punish you severely. So short for me, I would definitely not be looking to trade it. This is from what I know, the only person here who I would say even to look at this, in my honest opinion, would be David. And that's just because I know he's a level 5 trader. Everybody else, just watch it at best case. And if you really just want to trade it, go in with extremely small shares. I wouldn't even matter if you're in there for 10 shares. If that's what you need to just get a feel for what this type of trade looks like, then that's up to you. Next would be HIMS. Now, HIMS is not doing anything, but like yesterday, and which we do certain mornings, we will set up from stories that are not complete. Now, we know in HIMS yesterday, it was nothing but big buying. They were building monstrous positions, and they were building on the way up, 27, 28, 29. Now, you could look at that and say, well, 27 met 28. That's his target. 28 met 29. That's his target. And you could be right. And there are certainly prints within that would have took that as their target and sold. But if you looked at the money flow throughout the day, it was absolutely building a larger position. Market makers wanted far more than shares. They were building massively around about that 28 level, especially. That's the level that they chose in the end to then use to gain all the shares that they want for the long term. So with that being said, you have nothing going on now. But I've noticed in HIMS, it does not trade pre-markets, but it gets really active in the open. If it gets active in the open and move towards 28, look for that thin print personality again, or even big build again. But you want to make sure it clears 28 with the right set of prints and volume, and make sure you do not see sell above 28. That's usually an indication they're using the volume to then bring it back under again by selling into retail. You want to see a clear indication that it has what it takes to move towards 30. If you do not see that and it doesn't have clarity, don't worry about it. Maybe they were just building yesterday for the longer term, and it was not meant to have any intraday trading. So HIMS would be number 5. It's definitely a side list stock, but keep an eye on it. I have found many trades in that lately. Then we have Mara. Mara, as we know, yesterday was absolutely exceptional build all day long, especially around that 25. I've been watching it today, far more mixed. They did most of their building yesterday, but there's two things that can happen typically in this situation. Like I said, exceptional build is done for acquiring far more shares, but also taking it to a new price point that they believe the stock is worth. If this continues with exceptional build, if the cryptocurrencies and their prices remain strong and steady and moving upwards, this would directly trade relative to the price of that because all of their holdings are in crypto. So keep an eye on what happens at 25. Do not be eager. From 24 to 25 is clean, gives you perfect amount of control and gives you perfect amount of range and safety net. But if it starts traveling towards 25, do not look to just jump in. You would want to see that really clear 25 so that you're not part of the games being played again. This is a major psych level. If it was me and I see nothing but continuous build and I have the ability to say, well, 26 is easy, 27, knowing what we know from yesterday, I would even look at maybe possibly above 25 as an entry, just because that is the previous high from pre-market. If you're still not sure about that, there's nothing wrong in waiting even to go above 25.50. But I would absolutely tell you my spot for looking at an entry would never be above 25. If it was in that situation, I would be looking more above 25, so I don't get caught in this mess where they're trapping retail. So those are my 5 stocks. I didn't really find anything else. If you guys have anything you'd like me to look over, please feel free just to put a message in and I'll have a look for you. No problem. Do you guys have any stocks you want me? It could even be your own story. Don't feel afraid. If you have something that you'd like me to look at because it has particular, you've been putting your attention towards it and you'd like me to have a quick review, I'm more than happy to do so. We still got another 2 minutes. Anybody else? Any questions? Anything you didn't understand? And please remember, we have an 11 o'clock basic intro review. I'll be going over some basics just to help you guys understand the print element, the trading element, and how we work in certain things. So feel free to record or to speak on anything you want at 11. It's not doing anything in pre-market, but BTM had that buy yesterday. Yep, you're absolutely right. I watched that and I think I was commenting on that yesterday. Problem is it's not doing anything, but you are absolutely right. It did have buy at 3, it was very clean buy. Not only at 3, it did have buy underneath 3. So if volume picks up and it decides to trade, we do know it's Bitcoin Depot. It certainly is at the forefront of the stocks that we're looking at currently. So we can absolutely have keep an eye on that on your side list, but that's really, really sideless. It's just not doing anything. But I do agree, CBIG, it should be up there. Okay, anybody else? If not, it's now getting close to 9:15. Let's all get ready for the open. Please be patient. As I always say, plan both options. If you're looking at an 80% trade, plan how that 80% trade goes into fruition. How does it look like? What's its target? Have that written down on your paper. Do not just think it, write it down. It's 10 times more effective when you take your thoughts and you write it down. Then you want to also say, what does that 20% of it not quite working out this time look like? Why? Because you accepted an 80% trade. If you accepted an 80% trade, you accepted that 20% of the times it will not work out. So you should also know what that looks like. So for instance, if I was looking at Mara and I'm saying, oh yeah, I really want this to exceptionally go to 25, and it has a great chance from what I've seen in pre-market and what I saw yesterday, that we should get some nice volume around here for it to trade towards 25. But if that volume and we see nothing but selling coming in, and then big build print, so selling at 24 down all the way to 23.50, then it comes back up, and then you see huge buying at 23.50. Well, that just requires a pullback. Then it pulls back on big selling, hits 23 bid. You know that's your 20% in play for now. So with that being said, everybody good luck, work together. Any questions, please ask. Have a great morning.